Dear viewers, welcome to our channel. Subscribe to receive more stories every day. Anna clasped the doorknob, her knuckles white with tension, as Mark's voice cut through the air like a blade. "You're a disgrace, Anna," he spat, towering over her. "You've always been a burden to this family. Get out of my house." Tears welled in Anna's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. This wasn't the man she had married. Or maybe, she thought bitterly, she had simply ignored the warning signs. His words dripped with the venom of entitlement, his tone bolstered by the silent agreement of his siblings seated behind him. Anna glanced at the people she had once called family. They avoided her gaze, shifting uncomfortably in their chairs, but none of them spoke up. None of them defended her. The shame of her modest upbringing had always been a stain in their eyes, a flaw she could never scrub clean despite her love and loyalty to Mark. "Fine," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "I'll go." Mark tossed a suitcase at her feet, its contents hastily stuffed and disheveled. Anna crouched to pick it up, her movements slow and deliberate, as if she were gathering the last pieces of her dignity. As she straightened, her gaze locked with Robert's, Mark's father. Unlike the others, his face wasn't painted with scorn but with something deeper. Regret, perhaps, or even admiration. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Mark," Anna said quietly before stepping out the door. The chill of the night air bit at her skin as she walked away, suitcase in hand, with no plan and no place to go. Anna's departure from the family estate was the final act in a series of humiliations. Over the years, Mark's resentment toward her had grown, fueled by his siblings' constant whispers that she didn't belong. Robert, however, had been different. The patriarch of the family was a man of few words but sharp observation. He had seen Anna's quiet strength, her resilience in the face of mockery, and her unwavering kindness even when it wasn't reciprocated. In private moments, Robert had confided in Anna. "You remind me of someone," he had said one evening, sitting in the library with a glass of bourbon in hand. "Who?" Anna had asked, startled by the rare personal comment. "My late wife," Robert had replied, his voice softer than usual. She came from nothing too, but she had a fire in her, a determination to make something of herself. "I see that in you, Anna. Never let them snuff it out." Those words echoed in Anna's mind as she settled into the small apartment she had rented with the last of her savings. She worked tirelessly, taking on multiple jobs to keep herself afloat. Nights were long and lonely, but she clung to Robert's words like a lifeline, a reminder that someone had seen her worth, even if Mark hadn't. Months turned into years, and Anna found herself flourishing in ways she hadn't expected. She discovered a talent for baking, a skill she had honed during long nights alone in her tiny kitchen. What started as a hobby grew into a small business as neighbors and co-workers began placing orders for her pastries. Soon, she had a steady stream of clients, and her kitchen became a sanctuary, a place where she could create something meaningful out of the broken pieces of her life. Meanwhile, Mark's family remained unaware of her progress. Occasionally, she would catch whispers of their lavish gatherings or new business ventures, but she no longer felt the sting of exclusion. She had her own world now, and it was one she had built with her own hands. Robert, however, kept in touch. Despite the fallout with Mark, he occasionally called Anna, asking how she was doing. The conversations were brief but warm, and Anna suspected he had his own grievances with his family. "Never doubt your strength, Anna," he said during one of their last calls. "I have a feeling you'll outshine them all someday." The call came on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Anna had just finished packaging an order when her phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. She hesitated before answering. "Ms. Anna Carter?" the voice on the other end asked. "Yes, this is Anna. This is Jonathan Reynolds, Robert Langston's attorney. Mr. Langston has passed away, and his will reading is scheduled for next Monday. You're listed as a beneficiary, so your presence is required." Anna's breath caught in her throat. "Beneficiary," she repeated, her mind racing. Why would Robert include her in his will? The Langston family had always treated her as an outsider, and she couldn't imagine them taking kindly to her presence. Yes, ma'am. It's imperative that you attend. The reading will take place at the family estate. Anna's chest tightened as old memories surfaced. She hadn't set foot on that property since the night she left, but something in her urged her to go. This was Robert's final request, and she owed it to him to see it through. The Langston estate loomed ahead, its grandeur unchanged by time. The sprawling mansion, with its marble columns and meticulously trimmed hedges, looked every bit as intimidating as Anna remembered. She parked her modest car in the shadow of luxury SUVs and sleek sedans, steeling herself against the flood of memories threatening to overwhelm her. As she stepped out, her presence immediately drew attention. Mark stood on the grand steps, flanked by his siblings, their expressions ranging from surprise to barely concealed disdain. Well, well, Mark sneered. Did you lose your way, Anna? This isn't a charity event. Anna met his gaze, her expression calm. I was invited. Mark's smirk faltered, replaced by confusion. His sister Vanessa stepped forward, her lips pursed. By whom? Robert's attorney. Surely that's a mistake. Anna didn't respond. Instead, she brushed past them, her composure unshaken. Inside the estate, memories of her former life whispered through the air. The glint of the chandelier, the faint scent of lavender polish on the wooden banisters. Yet it felt alien now, like a relic from someone else's story. The family gathered in the mahogany-paneled study, their murmurs of speculation filling the room. Jonathan Reynolds, Robert's attorney, stood at the head of the table, his presence commanding attention. He placed a thick folder on the table and cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. As you know, Robert Langston was a man of meticulous planning. His will reflects his values, his relationships, and his vision for the future. Anna could feel the weight of the family's eyes on her. She kept her gaze fixed on Jonathan, refusing to be cowed by their judgment. Jonathan began with small bequests, naming distant relatives, charities, and longtime employees. The Langstons shifted impatiently, clearly waiting for the larger portions of the estate to be addressed. And now, Jonathan continued, we come to the matter of the Langston family fortune, including the estate, its holdings, and the controlling shares of Langston Enterprises. The room stilled. Even the sound of breathing seemed to pause. It is my duty to inform you that the majority of the Langston estate, along with controlling shares in Langston Enterprises, has been left to Anna Carter. The silence was deafening. Anna's head snapped up, her heart pounding. She could hardly believe what she had heard. Around her, the room erupted into chaos. What? Mark bellowed, rising from his chair. That's impossible. Vanessa's face twisted in fury. She's not even family. She has no right to any of it. Jonathan raised a hand, his voice steady and authoritative. This decision was made by Robert himself and is legally binding. Furthermore, he left a recorded message to be played at this moment. He pressed a button on a remote, and the screen at the front of the room flickered to life. Robert's familiar face appeared, his expression both stern and kind. If you're watching this, Robert began, it means I'm no longer here. And if I know my family, there's likely an uproar in this room right now. His lips curved into a faint smile. I've spent my life building this family's fortune, but I've also watched as greed and entitlement corroded its foundations. Too many of you have taken what you have for granted, assuming your place in this world is owed to you. Anna, however, is different. Robert's eyes softened. Anna, you were the only one who treated me as more than a wallet or an authority figure. You listened, you cared, and you stood by your principles even when it cost you everything. That kind of strength and integrity is rare, and it's what this family needs if it's to have any future. The room buzzed with angry mutters, but Robert wasn't finished. To my children and grandchildren, consider this my final lesson. Wealth is a privilege, not a right. If you want a place in this legacy, you'll have to earn it. And that starts with respecting Anna's leadership. The video ended, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Mark was the first to break the silence. "This is ridiculous," he shouted, his face red with anger. "She manipulated him. She—" "Enough," Jonathan interrupted sharply. "This will is airtight. Contesting it would be a waste of time and resources." Anna rose from her chair, her legs trembling but her resolve firm. "I didn't ask for any of this," she said, her voice calm but strong. "But Robert believed in me, and I won't let him down." She turned to leave, the weight of the moment pressing on her shoulders. As she walked past Mark, his voice followed her. "This isn't over, Anna. You'll regret this." She didn't look back. As Anna left the estate, her emotions were a whirlwind of disbelief, gratitude, and apprehension. She hadn't expected this outcome, but she knew one thing for certain: Robert's trust in her was not misplaced. She would honor his legacy, even if it meant standing against the very people who had cast her aside. The days following the will reading were a storm of media coverage and legal threats. Mark and his siblings wasted no time in dragging Anna's name through the mud, claiming she had manipulated Robert in his final years. Gossip columns ran wild, painting her as a gold digger who had schemed her way into the family fortune. Anna refused to respond publicly. Instead, she focused on understanding the magnitude of what she had inherited. Robert's holdings were vast, and managing them required her to step into an unfamiliar world of high finance and corporate strategy. She hired a team of trusted advisors, but the weight of the responsibility felt immense. One afternoon, as she reviewed documents in her modest apartment, a knock at the door startled her. Opening it, she found Vanessa standing there, her expression sharp and calculating. "What do you want?" Anna asked, her tone guarded. Vanessa pushed her way inside, scanning the small, unadorned space with thinly veiled disdain. "I came to offer you a deal," she said, her voice dripping with false sincerity. "Hand over control of Langston Enterprises, and we'll drop all legal challenges. You can keep the house and a portion of the assets." Anna folded her arms. "And if I refuse?" Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll ruin you. You're an outsider, Anna. You don't belong in our world. The press will eat you alive, and when we're done, no one will trust you with so much as a lemonade stand." Anna held her ground, her voice steady. "I think you've underestimated me, Vanessa. I'm not the same woman you threw out of this family. If you want to challenge me, go ahead. But I'll fight for what Robert believed in, and I won't back down." Vanessa glared at her for a long moment before storming out, slamming the door behind her. Anna exhaled deeply, her resolve solidified. If they wanted a fight, she would give them one. As the weeks went by, Anna began to uncover the true state of Langston Enterprises. Beneath its polished exterior, the company was riddled with inefficiencies and plagued by years of mismanagement. Robert had been trying to clean it up, but his declining health had slowed his efforts. Anna dove headfirst into the work, relying on the skills she had honed running her small business. She also reached out to key employees who had been loyal to Robert, forming a team of allies who believed in her vision for the company's future. Among them was Robert's longtime assistant, Grace, who provided invaluable insight into the company's operations and the family's secrets. "Robert knew this would happen," Grace said one evening as they worked late in the office. "He warned me that his children would try to tear you down. But he believed in you, Anna. He saw something in you that none of them had." Anna nodded, her determination growing stronger. "Then I won't let him down." Meanwhile, Mark's life was unraveling. His arrogance had blinded him to the precariousness of his own finances, and without access to the family fortune, he found himself drowning in debt. Desperation drove him to make one final move. Late one night, Anna received a call from her attorney. "Anna, I need you to come to the office. Mark has requested a private meeting." Her stomach twisted at the thought of facing him again, but she agreed. The next morning, she walked into the conference room to find Mark sitting there, looking haggard and defeated. "What do you want, Mark?" she asked, keeping her voice cold. He ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "I need your help," he admitted, his tone lacking its usual arrogance. The family's falling apart. Vanessa's threatening to sell her shares, and the company's on the brink of collapse. Anna raised an eyebrow. And why would I help you after everything you've done to me? Mark's shoulders sagged. Because you're better than me, he said quietly. Robert saw it, and I see it now too. I was wrong to treat you the way I did. For a brief moment, Anna felt a flicker of pity, but she quickly reminded herself of the years of cruelty and neglect she had endured. You're right, she said. I am better than you. And that's why I'll make sure the company survives. But not for you. For Robert. He believed in me, and I'll honor his legacy. Mark's face fell as Anna walked out of the room, her resolve unshaken. Anna's efforts to rebuild Langston Enterprises began to bear fruit. She streamlined operations, introduced innovative practices, and reinvested in the employees who had been overlooked for years. The company's reputation started to recover, and investors took notice. At a shareholder meeting, Anna stood at the podium, her confidence radiating. This company was built on the values of hard work, integrity, and resilience, she said. Robert Langston believed in those values, and I intend to honor them. Together, we can build a future that reflects his vision. The applause was thunderous, and for the first time, Anna felt the weight of the past truly lift from her shoulders. Months later, Anna stood in the garden of the Langston estate, now hers to oversee. The place no longer felt like a monument to her pain but a symbol of her triumph. She had not only survived but thrived, proving that her worth was not determined by the family that had cast her out. As she gazed at the horizon, Grace approached with a letter in hand. This arrived for you, she said, handing it over. Anna opened it, her breath catching as she recognized Robert's handwriting. Dear Anna, if you're reading this, it means you've risen to the challenge, just as I knew you would. You've shown this family and the world that true strength lies not in wealth or power but in character. I couldn't be prouder of you. With gratitude, Robert. Tears filled Anna's eyes as she folded the letter and held it close. She had found her place, not because of the wealth she had inherited but because of the person she had become. Dear viewers, thank you for watching. If you like this story, please subscribe to our channel to receive more stories every day. Share with us what you think of this story and tell us where you're watching from.